Hey, what's up, guys? Normally, I do videos on some specific aspect of learning a language, and I try to make videos that help you make your language learning fast, fun, and easy. But today, I'm just going to do a general question and answer video, and I'm going to let you guys ask me anything. And the reason I'm doing this is because that I find that I get a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. So rather than continuing to answer the same question on every single video, on every single live stream, I'm going to make one video that answers them all. And hopefully that will help make my workflow a little bit more efficient. So I have a list here of a few of the main questions that I get asked all the time. I'm also going to be taking questions from audience members because obviously this is a live stream. Hello, Cumbers. Hello, Miriam Duke. Thanks for joining. Thanks for commenting. If you guys have any questions, please ask away. I'm an open book. I'll answer anything, whether it be about language learning or about me personally, don't matter. And also, if someone's watching this later, if you have a question that wasn't answered in the video, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below. That's fine. The first question that I have to answer right away, because apparently I don't say my name in most of my videos. My name is Aaron, all right? And I get this a lot. I get a lot of people leaving comments saying, hey, I've been watching you for 3 years. Well, not 3 years. I've only been doing this for 2 years. I've been watching you for 2 years, or I've been watching you for a year or a year and a half, and I don't know what your name is. My name is Aaron. Originally, I started going by Finktam online. Well, I had been using that as a screen name since about 2006. And who did I vote for in 2016? I voted for Gary Johnson. That was an interesting election, and I voted for Gary Johnson. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I started using the name Finktam in 2006, and over the years, I've used that pretty much in all of my accounts and everything. When I first started doing YouTube, I didn't want to use my real name on any channel. So if you watch my Esperanto channel, you'll see that I actually say my name is Finktam on that channel. I kind of realized somewhere along the line that it's not really feasible to run YouTube channels without ever using your real name. And no one was really going to believe that my name was Finktam anyways, especially if you're Hungarian. If you are not Hungarian, you should look up the word Finktam. I'm not going to answer that question on here. I'll leave that to you guys as homework. All right, I'm just going to answer some of these real common questions first, and then I'll get to questions from people in the live stream. How many languages do you speak? This is one I get in almost every live stream. It could be a live stream about, I don't know, is Duolingo better than Memrise? And we have real good discussion going, and then someone will inevitably pop into the live stream and say, how many languages do you speak? And sometimes I ignore it because we're having a real good discussion on just a real important subject or something. So generally speaking, I try to answer all questions that are left on all of my videos. If I am in a real groove or we're really, I don't know, having a good conversation, I'll ignore a question and then usually try to come back to it. I don't always succeed in remembering that. Or sometimes I'll be like I'll be at school scrolling through my comments on my phone, and my class will be right about to start. And so I will see a comment or a question, and then I have to turn my phone off or something like that. And so I don't always end up asking or answering every question. I try to, though. Hello, Laura from Milan, Italy. Thanks for joining. Also, all the questions, man, we're getting a lot of questions here. Good, I like to see that. Okay, anyways, how many languages do I speak? Right now I speak 4. We'll say I speak 4 languages. That's, well, 5. No, 4. English, French, Spanish, Esperanto. Okay, in that order. English being my native language, Spanish being my strongest language, my strongest second language that I'm fluent in. French, that depends on your definition of fluent. I can hold conversations relatively easily in French without much difficulty on certain subjects. I get into other subjects and I don't know the vocabulary. It's a little bit more of a struggle. And then Esperanto is, I can hold conversations usually with some level of difficulty. And it obviously depends on the subject there too. All right. I would say the third question that I get most often is, are you single? And I get a question like this in almost every video or something along those lines. And usually it's from men. So sorry to break your hearts, fellas, but I'm not gay. So no. And even when it's coming from women, I'm not trying to hook up with someone over YouTube. I only do that over World of Warcraft. So come on, let's get with the game. All right. Another question that I get all the time is people asking me to help them with their linguistics homework. And it's tough for me because I want to answer all questions related to linguistics, and I generally do. So if you have a question for your linguistics homework and you just ask me about that subject, I'm more than happy to help answer the question that you have. Okay. If you're like trying to send me a screenshot of your linguistics homework, I'm not doing it for you. Okay. I'm just going to ignore you, to tell you the truth. Same thing. If you're asking, are you single? And that's your only question, and you don't even have something related to languages or anything, I'm not even going to bother to give you an answer to that question. I get people like saying like, hey, I need you to read this linguistics article and summarize it for me. No, that's not my job. That's your job. I want you to learn linguistics. I'm glad that you're taking a class, but I just ain't doing it. Sorry. How much money do you make on YouTube? Right now, I make between $2 to $3 a day off of YouTube ads. It kind of fluctuates depending on how many people watch the ads. So that's how YouTubers make money. Got this crazy hair going on through the top of my cap. That's how YouTubers make money, when people watch the ads at the beginning. Or sometimes when you click on the ads, I'm not really exactly sure 100% how it works. Sometimes I'll see that I got like $4 or $5 from one video. So I think that must just be someone clicking on one of the ads or something. Maybe I get more money from that. I'm not really sure how it works. But generally speaking, $2, $2.50, something like that. Okay, sorry, I'm ignoring all these questions here. Guys, can we please stop with the nonsense questions? Some of us have real valid linguistics related questions. Yeah, I'm open to any questions. I'll try to get to all of them. Looks like we have maybe about 20 questions here so far. Okay. Another question that I've just been getting a whole lot over the last 10, 15 days or so is, you're learning Thai? And the answer to that question is no, I'm not learning Thai. I am going to start learning Thai next month. So it's just a real short-term question. I guess I can put that to rest. All right, that's all the questions that I had listed. All right, let me get to some of these questions that people are actually asking now. Okay, how would you suggest an interpreter keep up with the slang of the many countries that speak the language, especially for Spanish, since there are 20 plus countries that speak it? Yeah, that's a great question. I actually just did an interview with a Spanish-speaking medical interpreter. I didn't do an interview for this channel. It was for my Spanish class. And it seems tough. It seems like a really tough job, especially because when you're interpreting, you can't change the words of the person that you're interpreting for. And sometimes there's just not direct translations of the words. So you need to find some way of saying it without changing the meaning of what they're saying. And if a word has two different meanings, then I guess, I don't know. I guess you have to guess which meaning of that word they're most likely using. And then it gets even more difficult with languages with tons of different dialects. Like if you're interpreting for someone who's speaking English and they say chips, well, that word chips has a different meaning in the UK than it does in America. Same with the word period, right? In America, a period is the dot at the end of a sentence. In the UK, as far as I'm aware, that word only has to do with menstruation. So I guess in that context, it wouldn't necessarily be difficult to know whether you're talking about the end of a sentence or a menstrual cycle. But I don't know. I mean, with other words, you know, especially words that don't exist in other languages, for a long time, I didn't know what a twat was, right? Or sometimes I'll watch YouTube videos where it's like, I just watched one the other day. Who was it? There's some celebrities. It was Jennifer, who's the girl from Hunger Games? Jennifer Lawrence. And she was with some Australian guy, and they both had to guess slang from the other person's country. It was really interesting. So I don't know. I'm not an interpreter. Sorry, that's kind of a disappointing answer, I guess. You probably just have to stay up to date. I don't know if there's resources. Oops, I almost logged out. Don't want to quit on you guys right now. There's probably resources for that. I don't know. I'm not an interpreter, but fortunately, people go to school for that kind of thing, right? So they could probably give you a better answer than I could. Normal words as well, since there are different words for the same things in every country. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm studying Latin in hopes of easing my learning of Romance languages. Would you recommend the study of root languages even when dead? I'm also studying Mesoamerican languages due to my lineage. Well, it's a choice that you can make. Generally speaking, learning two different languages for the purpose of learning one language better is going to be more work, because you have to put in twice as much work to learn two languages rather than just putting all of that work into learning the one language. There have been some studies, and the results of these, I think, are a little bit nuanced. There have been some studies that show that for certain people, spending a year learning Esperanto and then a year learning French is more effective than learning French for 2 years, even if your only goal is to learn French. It's nuanced because those results only hold for certain demographics of people. But it's possible. And if your goal is to learn Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, and Romanian, then maybe learning Latin, like maybe learning 6 languages in that case would actually be more efficient than learning 5. Okay, but I seriously doubt that if your goal is to learn French, then learning Latin before that, it'll just be more efficient to learn French, in my opinion. That's my guess. I don't know about too much research on the subject. Okay, hello, what's your real name? My real name is Aaron. There you go. Like I said, I get that question in every video. I think he might have been asking that when I was talking about my real name. I'll have to think of a harder one. Yeah, called me out because he didn't think I would tell you who I voted for. Okay, hi from Milan. What's your credit card number and social security code, and security code on the back? All right, it's 123456789. And the quote on the back is 123. So, oh, and don't forget the expiration date, January 1st. All right. Do you plan to learn Portuguese? I don't have any immediate plans of learning Portuguese ever. And that's not to say I won't learn Portuguese ever. That would probably be like one of the languages that I could learn a lot for less effort because of my other Romance languages. I did learn Portuguese for about 2 weeks last year before going to Portugal. And that was an interesting experience. You know, I learned a ton of Portuguese over the course of 2 weeks just by using Duolingo, Memrise, and having conversations with Brazilians. If I ever go back to Portugal, which I don't know if I ever will, but if I ever go back to Portugal, then I probably will spend a little bit more time studying Portuguese. I would really like to go to Brazil someday. That's like one of the top 5 countries that I would like to go to. So Portuguese is definitely not out of the question. I don't think I will. Well, like I said, I don't have any plans of ever actually learning Portuguese. But spending a few weeks or a month trying to get like A1 level in Portuguese or something like that, maybe that's a possibility. All right, would you like to be fluent in the rest of the Romance languages as Italian and Romanian? I did study Romanian for a few months a couple of years ago, and that was interesting. Seemed like an enjoyable language, hard compared to the other Romance languages. Italian, I spent a day learning earlier this year, and that was fun. Obviously, Italian is one of the bigger languages of the world, so it's not out of the question. I don't really have any strong desire to learn the other Romance languages. The languages that I really would like to learn are, well, now Thai, because I'm moving to Thailand. But aside from that, I really want to learn Mandarin. That's like one of my top ones that I want to learn. And also ancient Greek is one of the ones that I would really like to learn. Maybe Arabic. I don't have super strong feelings about Arabic. Yeah, the only 2 that I really have super strong feelings about are Mandarin and Greek. Tokipona as well. I really like Tokipona. That's a great language, in my opinion. All right. Okay, challenge. Can you pronounce my name? I'm going to say Mehdi Sufi. That's a guess. All right, Midnight Girl says, do you have any suggestions for free language learning programs or apps? Yes, and I have a lot of videos about this too. Link, there's a free version of it, okay, but the paid version is better, so you should pay for it. Memrise is great. Anki is in the same vein as Memrise. Duolingo is good for the first, I'm going to say use Duolingo for the first month and a half that you're learning a language. Okay, and if you're really consistent with learning your languages, you know, if it's a long, slow, drawn-out process, then Duolingo will probably be more beneficial for a longer period of time. But if you're actually getting it, do Duolingo for like a month and a half, and then stop wasting your time on Duolingo. It's not as good of a resource as many people think. It's great for starting and just giving you a place to kind of get your feet wet. But after that, no. Other free resources, YouTube. No matter what language you're learning, there's someone on YouTube putting out free videos to help you learn that language. The other thing is, if you're learning a language, you shouldn't be afraid of paying $10 a month for a subscription to a service that's really going to help you learn that language. Right? Like you're putting in tons of time and effort that could otherwise be spent working and making money. Okay. So why aren't you willing to pay $10 or $15 a month for a service that's going to help you learn that language? Free apps are great if you find one that's good and it works. Okay. And it is really helping you. but don't be afraid of paying. I recommend Link, and I do recommend the paid version, not the free version. The free version kind of sucks, in my opinion. So Link is $10 a month. If you're learning a language, then there's no excuse not to pay $10 a month. I also really recommend Pimsleur for the early stages in language acquisition. Pimsleur is more expensive, but I find it to be really helpful. Okay. Dakota Auditiva says hola. So hola, Dakota. Why is American English different than the UK one? That's a great question. Because languages are alive and languages change always, no matter what, period. If a language is living, then that language is changing, okay? I don't speak the same way my grandparents speak, and my grandparents didn't speak the way that their grandparents spoke, okay? And they're, and you go back 200-300 years, we're almost not able to understand each other anymore, right? You read Shakespeare and it's difficult. It's hard to read Shakespeare because they spoke differently than we speak. Language change over time. Okay, that's just the way languages work. You can't change it, or you can't stop the change. And even within the United States, at one point, presumably, large portions of the 13 colonies probably sounded relatively similar. That might not be true, now that I think about it. But at least within certain regions of the United States, everyone probably spoke relatively the same. And then as time goes on, you start to speak in different ways. Well, the way that I speak differently from the earlier dialect is going to be it's not going to be the same difference as someone else who speaks differently from the earlier dialect. Okay? Languages diverge randomly in different directions, and you just can't stop it. So when you have people separated by the Atlantic Ocean for hundreds of years, they're both going to start speaking differently in different ways. And that's why the UK English is different than American English. Okay. How many languages did you try to learn? Oh gosh. Well, like I said, I speak 4 languages now: English, Spanish, French, Esperanto. I've spent time learning Romanian, Greek, ancient Greek, Koine Greek. So those are the 2 that I put in the most time learning. I've spent like a few weeks learning Portuguese. And every time I meet a Brazilian, I always try to practice the like 4 things in Portuguese that I still remember how to say. I spent the day learning German, spent the day learning Italian. I've spent like maybe a grand total of like 4 weeks of my life learning Tokipona. And it's really interesting because 2 weeks in 2015, I learned Tokipona. 2 weeks in 2018, I learned Tokipona. I think, is that right? Yeah. So approximately 4 weeks total. I can still go on Twitter and follow people that tweet in Tokipona, and I can still at least get the meaning of what they're saying. So, years, months later, after stopping studying, and I only ever studied for 4 weeks total, and still able to understand what they're saying, that's pretty good. And that's reflective of the language being very easy. It's not reflective of me being a genius or anything like that. I think a lot of times people get the idea that, polyglots are geniuses. And I think IQ probably has something to do with it, but there are people with much higher IQs than me that are monolingual, and there are other people that probably have much lower IQs than me who are polyglots that are much more efficient in more languages. So it's not everything that I don't think polyglots should get a big head about being able to speak multiple languages, and people shouldn't think of them as being geniuses. It's not about being really smart or really good at learning languages. It's about putting the time in and making it a priority and just learning the language. And you have to know the right strategies too, Because a lot of people sit in class for 4 years and they can barely speak any Spanish, at least in the United States. And that's because they're not learning the right way. Okay. If you are learning the right way and you put in 4 years of language acquisition, you should really be able to speak that language after 4 years. After 1 year, you should be able to hold conversations after 6 months, for sure, if you're learning languages the right way. Okay, where was I? How many languages do you try? Okay, that was the last one. I already speak Spanish fluently. It's my first language. It's my goal to learn French, Italian, and Portuguese. So I think you answered my question. Latin will be worth it for me. All right, yeah, I mean, go ahead and try it, and then for sure, let me know how that goes, because I'm interested. I'm not aware of any research that's been done on that subject, although I'm sure it probably has been done. We'll see. Okay, what is your opinion on clout chasers? I don't know what that is, so that's my opinion. At what level of Spanish do you think it is? It is okay to start learning Portuguese. B2, B1. Well, I mean, A0? You don't need to speak Spanish before you learn Portuguese. I don't think I understand the question. Is it okay to start learning Portuguese? Like maybe if you're already speaking Spanish or learning Spanish, then what level do you start learning Portuguese? I try to get my languages to a B level at least. Preferably B2 before adding another language, okay? Because that's going to get confusing if you're A2 in 3 different languages, right? I would say I'm a C level. I don't know, C, probably maybe C2, C1, C2, something in Spanish. And learning French still on occasion will trip me up when I'm speaking Spanish. There'll be times where I'll go to say something in Spanish and I'll think, what is that word? I can only think of the French word, and I know it's not the same in Spanish, whereas I didn't have problems like that before I started learning French. Okay, and I am fluent in Spanish, but it just doesn't. You're going to be sacrificing something by adding another language. Okay, so you want to get to as high of a level as you can before adding another one. It also depends on what your goals are, right? If you're about to move to Brazil, then start learning Brazilian or Brazilian Portuguese. Okay, Portuguese is a difficult language. I'm a native speaker and I have many problems with the language. Here's the thing though. If you're a native speaker of Portuguese, then you don't actually have many problems with the language. You speak your version of Portuguese, okay? I speak my version of English and I use the word ain't and I put prepositions at the end of sentences. And I start sentences with conjunctions. That's how I speak English, okay? And I speak it right. I speak English good, okay? And there's this misconception that if you split an infinitive or you put a preposition at the end of a sentence, that somehow you don't speak English good. Or if you use good as an adverb rather than as an adjective, then you're not speaking English good. And I totally don't agree with that because I'm a native speaker and I speak English just fine. That's my opinion on the matter. Okay, what's your current job or your future career? Right now, I'm a full-time student and I'm going to school on the GI Bill. So I get paid by the government to go to school because I was in the military. I'm going to graduate in May. And, so because I get paid to go to school, that's my job. I don't have a job. But I'm graduating in May, and then I'm moving to Thailand, and I'm going to start learning Thai, and I'm going to be teaching English as a second language, as a foreign language, to Thai students. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, will you make videos where you react to music videos? No, I don't have any plans of doing that. Not on this channel. Do you plan to learn Persian? No. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could get a visa to go visit Iran, and that's probably, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't learn Persian um, unless I was going to go somewhere where they speak it. So I don't really have any uh, burning desire to learn Persian. There's plenty of languages that, like, I don't have any reason not to learn that language, but I don't have any reason to learn it. So that in and of itself is kind of a reason not to learn the language, because languages are hard. And I'm not going to learn a language unless I have some really good motivation to learn it. Any plans on learning Russian? No, same thing. Never know. Like someday, once I become fluent in Thai, Mandarin, and Greek, then I'm going to be looking for another language to learn. But as of right now, I don't have any reason. Also, what made you start a YouTube channel? Actually, that's a really good question. All right. And that's also part of the reason, partially explains the name of my channel. I started this channel, to tell you the truth, because I was doing private lessons in Spanish and English, and I realized that, or I was teaching English and Spanish to private students, and I realized that I was kind of doing the same lessons for a lot of the same students. So I was like, I could kind of make this process more efficient and make videos that, where I go through and methodically explain something in a thorough way, and then send those videos to my students. And most of those videos were explanations of songs in English or songs in Spanish. And so I was like, I'm going to make these videos about explanations of certain language songs, send those to my students, tell them to study the song, and then so that way by the time we do the lesson, they'll be prepared to talk about the song lyrics. Okay, and that's how I started my channel. I wasn't even really planning on extending it out to other people. But other people started watching my videos, and then it kind of became a thing. And so that's why I didn't put a whole lot of effort into choosing a name for my channel. I was just like, oh, ThingTam is the username that I use for everything. So that'll just be the name of the channel too. And now I have a moderately successful YouTube channel that is named after the Hungarian word for flatulence. So that's how that happened. What is the right way to learn a language according to you? Well, according to me, there is no right way. The right way is whatever works best for you. I'll tell you that for me, I wouldn't learn anything without speaking to other people. So just doing translations on Duolingo, or just doing like flashcards on Memrise or on Anki, that ain't gonna cut it. I gotta have conversations with other people, otherwise it's not even worth it, right? And starting early, like starting before you're ready to have conversations. You'll never be ready to have a conversation, so you have to start before you're ready. And then once you start having conversations with other people in your foreign language, then you're gonna start making progress, in my opinion, or at least in my strategy. And you make lots of mistakes, okay? And you don't apologize for your mistakes. You embrace the mistakes, because the mistakes help you. They help you learn, okay? And when someone laughs at you for making mistakes, you laugh right back, right? You say, oh, haha, that was hilarious. What did I say, right? You have to be bold. That's one of the main things I talk about on this channel. You got to be bold. Can't be afraid of making mistakes. Can't be timid. All right. Do you admire someone from the Polyglot YouTube community? Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of people. Some of the big names. Benny Lewis was the main one that I really started watching a lot when I first started getting into language learning. And you can probably tell, because the strategy for learning languages that I just described, that's his strategy, right? He talks about Tarzan speak. Me, Tarzan, you, Jane. That's how you start off learning languages. And you speak with other people starting from day one. That's his whole process. Steve Kaufman, I have a lot of respect for, even though is Please Clap still on here watching? Yeah, because every time I bring up Steve Kaufman, I get some kind of sarcastic comment from him. Anyways, Steve, I have a lot of respect for. I don't like his method as much, but it works for him. And so presumably it works for other people. I do really like Link, which is his baby. But to me, Link is a supplement to Benny Lewis's style rather than the other way around. Moses McCormick, or Loashu, what's it, 505000 or something? That's his name on YouTube. I really like his style because he's bold. You know, if you want a bold language learner, look up Moses McCormick. All right. He puts a camera, like a fake camera, in his hat, and he goes into shopping malls or into restaurants, and he just starts speaking with anyone that will speak to him in a foreign language. And he knows a ton of languages, and he sucks in 90% of them. Like, he's not good at a lot of languages, but he's not afraid of making mistakes. And so he goes out and he has genuine interactions with other human beings, which for him, that's what language learning is about. Moses is a legend. Yeah, you're right. All right. Where were we? Okay, what do you find to be the most challenging thing about learning French, or maybe any language? Most challenging thing about French. At first, pronunciation is really hard, okay? As opposed to Spanish, where you just look at a word and you know how it's pronounced. Actually, it's sort of the same with French once you learn all the rules, but it takes a long time to learn that E-A-U is supposed to be pronounced O, and there's no O in the word. Vowels are really tough in French. R's are tough, but vowels are really tough because they have vowels that we don't have in English. There's no vowels in Spanish that don't exist in English. Okay, there's 5 vowels in Spanish. There's like 12-ish vowels in English, and French has even more. Okay, and you have to be able to tell the difference between U and U, and you have to be able to tell the difference between and right? And to an English speaker, those just sound like strange variations of the same sound, right? U and U just sound like a U and a strange U, right? So it's hard to hear the difference between vous and vu and ve. So it takes a long time to be able to tell the difference, and even longer to be able to pronounce the differences correctly, which I'm not entirely sure if I can pronounce them correctly yet. What branch did I serve in? I served in the Marine Corps. Why do you really want to teach English to foreign students? I just really like languages, for one. And I think I'm a very logical thinker, okay? That's the way my brain works. Everyone's brain works in different ways. Symbolic logic and just, the logic of semantics just clicks with me, all right? And it doesn't click with a lot of other people. I actually took a symbolic logic class in the university, and it started off with like 20 people in this class and ended with like 7 because everyone was dropping out because it was a complex class. But for me, I just have that kind of personality, that kind of mind. I've spent some time learning about computer programming and coding and stuff, and it's a lot of the same concepts. And I would just sit back in class and just listen to the professor, and I absorbed the information. And other people would look at me and they're like, how can you just sit there and not take notes? I was like, it just clicks with me. And if I just listen to him, then that's enough for me to understand the logical part of it. So I have that kind of mind, and a lot of people don't. So if I can try to help them work through some of those abstract logical concepts. And there's so much underlying logic in our languages that you don't always think about because we learn it in a different way. But it's there. And if you can learn kind of the underlying logic, then you'll be able to figure out how to speak. Not necessarily always fluently, but at least you'll know how the rules work. And I don't really want to do a job where I just go sit at a desk or something and just earn a paycheck. I want to help people. I want to make the world a better place. And so I think helping people learn English, which is an important language, and English kind of gets a bad rep for being like an imperial language, or like, kind of the language of the oppressors or something. But just the facts are that English is the most important language in the world to learn if you want to succeed. And you could debate about the politics of whether that's good or not, but that's just the way the world is right now, until everyone learns Esperanto. That was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So if I can help someone improve their life by learning the most important language in the world, then I'll do that. And I'm less concerned about whether that perpetuates the English-speaking empire or something like that. I just want to help people. Okay. Let's see. And I'm missing stuff here. Okay, that's why do you want to teach early language? How many languages do you speak at C1/C2 level? 2, English and Spanish. If I go to grad school in Quebec, then I will soon add French to that list, so it'll be 3. If I don't go to grad school in Quebec, then I'm not really too concerned with pushing my French any further. Obviously, I would love to become better at French, but I won't. I would rather learn another language rather than learn French to C2. Why are you putting all these efforts on learning tons of languages? Is it useful in any way? It's fun. That's why. Yeah, it's useful. Are you kidding me? Like, is learning a language useful? Yeah, it's useful. But I'm learning it because it's fun. Okay, I like it. I enjoy it. I like the language learning community. And I like learning new skills. That's how my personality works. All right, Persian is a rich language with rich literature. It's spoken in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Iran, and some other regions. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. Yeah, every language is a rich language with rich culture, and rich history, right? Not always with literature. So, as much as I would love to learn any language, I have to be selective. I probably will never go to Iran. I would love to go to Iran, actually. I just don't know if I can as an American citizen. Tajikistan, I don't think I'll probably ever go there. When I was in Afghanistan, I was in Helmand province, so I don't think it's spoken there. Other than that, don't really think I'll ever need it. Although I do have some friends that speak Persian, and maybe I'll learn a few phrases or something like that. I'm never opposed to learning. It's just I have to be selective about the things that I do learn. Okay, do you have any inspiration when it comes to teaching? And by that, I mean any other teacher or even artist in general. Well, I think I shouldn't be the one inspiring you to teach other people. That should be, there should be kind of a natural motivation in that, right? You're helping people. You're making the world a better place. You're changing someone's life. Moses is a legend. This is true. Can you speak something in Portuguese? Yeah, I can say, eu quero aprender falar português. And I can say tudo bem, and boa noite, and bom dia. That's about the extent of it. What makes your heart sing? My heart doesn't sing. I usually sing with my mouth. Things that I really enjoy. I assume that's what you're asking about. I really enjoy nature. So when I'm camping or when I'm hiking out in nature, away from other people, I can't explain that sensation. So when I'm on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere, that's what I really enjoy. I like to go spend the afternoon up in this farm in rural Wisconsin, miles from, at least an hour from Madison, which is the closest city. Just sitting up on this hill. I love it. My dad and we go deer hunting and turkey hunting up there every year. And I just love being isolated out there in nature. That's what makes my heart sing. If any such thing could be said to make my circulatory system sing. Okay. Do you know anything about Lingoda and their challenge? It's hard to find an unbiased review. Okay, I know I'm familiar with that term. I don't remember specifically what it is. Maybe if you refresh my memory on that, I could say a little bit more. I know I've either read about Lingoda or looked it up or something. Don't remember too much about it though. Since you got your bookshelf behind you, what are your favorite books, related and not related to languages? That's a great question. Here's one that I've been talking about a lot. The First 20 Hours. It's about how you can actually become really good in any skill if you just put 20 hours of focused practice into it. That's not to say that you're going to become fluent in Russian in 20 hours, but you can make a lot of progress in only 20 hours. So that one's really great. This one's really short. It's actually not really a book. It's more of an essay. Well, it is a book. Lying by Sam Harris. And it kind of it really kind of opened my eyes to the philosophy behind honesty. And I never thought of myself as a liar. I thought of myself as a pretty honest person before reading this book. But you don't realize how many white lies you tell in your life, or how you try to find ways of getting around saying the truth without actually lying. And all of these are like some of the most detrimental things you can do to yourself and to your relationship with other people, right? So since reading this book, I've basically said, I've determined for myself, I'm never, ever going to try to cause someone to believe something that's not true, except in cases like you can contrive some kind of extreme case where lying might be beneficial. Like if you're hiding Anne Frank in your attic and the Nazis are knocking on your door, okay, then I'm going to lie. But realistically, in any situation in life where someone asks me a question, I will never lie, ever, period. Not white lies, not black lies. If they ask me, do you think I'm fat? All right, I'm going to give them my honest answer. And so I really recommend that book. It makes you think a lot. The Hobbit is one of my favorite books. Or La Hobito in Esperanto. Game of Thrones, I really, really enjoyed. What else do I got here? This was a book that I really enjoyed in high school. Blue Like Jazz, Non-Religious Thoughts on Christian Spirituality. It kind of feels like a blog post written by a hipster who is analyzing his Christian faith. It's really interesting. What else do I have up here? I actually have most of my books on a bookshelf downstairs that I really enjoy. Oh, here's a book. This is probably the best book you'll ever read, The Beasts of Bala'ak, because it was written by me. If you didn't know, I'm a fantasy author. No big deal or anything. It's on Amazon for $6.99. You should probably read it. The Beasts of Bala'ak. That's it. So that's my plug for myself. Oh, this is a great book. Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's all small stuff. If you were to read any book, if I were to recommend any book to like the general public, this would probably be at least like one of the top 3. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a classic. This book, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, I know it's a kid book, but it cracks me up, and I love it. Also, Fox in Socks, I think, is great. What else do I have in here? That was a great question. I really enjoyed that question. All the Harry Potter books. I thought I had 1 or 2 more books in my shelf over here. Yeah, that's it. That's not. Oops. That's as far as books that I have up here. Those are some of my favorites. Okay. Boa tarde, meu amigo. I don't know if I pronounced that right or not. Okay. Iranians are really nice, friendly, and awesome people from my experience, at least. And anti-American stuff is mostly the government. Yeah, can an American get a visa to travel to Iran? That's what I was asking about. Because I would actually really love to go to Iran. When I was walking the Camino de Santiago last year through Spain, which I would highly recommend to anyone as well. When I was, I met a Dutch couple who had traveled to Iran, and they said that it was like one of the most beautiful places they had ever been. So I would love to go there if it's possible, or maybe sometime in the future, if relations between our governments get better, that would be awesome. Do you ever get tired of teaching the same stuff over and over again? Are you talking about teaching in class, like teaching English, or teaching videos? Because I'll tell you, I harp on the same stuff over and over again. Be bold. You got to speak your language. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. I say all the same stuff over and over again on my channel. And I guess to tell you the truth, it's encouraging that I have to keep saying that stuff because it means more people are coming to my channel and learning, right? So if someone asks a question about something that I've answered 100 times, yes, I would prefer for them just to go back and watch some of my videos, but it also means that I have a new audience member, someone else that I can, help influence. And so that's kind of encouraging, to tell you the truth. No, I don't get tired of it. Lingoda runs a challenge where if you pay for it and attend all of the lessons for 3 months, they will give you a refund. Interesting. I kind of like that. So they must make all of their money off of people that quit then. But yeah, that kind of tells me that like they're more interested in people going all the way and succeeding than they are in making a profit, which that's cool. I love Sam Harris. Yeah, Sam Harris is a really smart person, and I have a lot of respect for him. Obviously Sam Harris is mostly well known for being an atheist, and I'm not an atheist, but he makes a lot of good points, and he talks about all kinds of, he talks about science and neurology and um, uh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Philosophy. I don't know why that word wouldn't come to my mind. And he talks about um, morality a lot and ethics. And he's a deep thinker, and he considers both sides of the argument, which I like. And I really enjoyed listening to his debates with Jordan Peterson, who is also a very deep thinker. And I know Jordan gets, I would say, mischaracterized as an alt-right personality a lot. And it's really bizarre because if you listen to what he's saying, he's not. But I really enjoyed the debates. And again, I'm going to say debates. I'll say the discussions between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, who are like really deep intellectual thinkers. And to hear them, they have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 videos on YouTube now that are all at least 2 or 3 hours long. So a lot of material where, you know, they're debating, and really interesting stuff to talk about, really interesting stuff to think about. And I would recommend that to anyone. All right. And it has nothing to do with language learning, but it's just interesting stuff to listen to. Sam Harris helped me lose 60 pounds. Do you think I'm fat? Sam Harris? Wait. Okay. Saluton, Tommaso, first of all. Second of all, I don't think I understand the question. Does Sam Harris talk about weight loss stuff? I've only ever heard him talk about like philosophy and science and religion. True story. Okay. Well, I believe you. What is your age? My age, I'm 29 years old. Okay. Teaching in class. Oh, okay. So going back to Michael's, or Mikhail, I don't know. I'm going to say Michael. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right or not. Yeah, so I haven't taught in class long enough to get tired of it. We'll see as the next year goes on. You know, I'm still in school, so I haven't spent a lot of time teaching in class. I've only taught in classes that I was required to for the teaching program at my school. We'll see how it goes. Bernie 2020, Beto 2020, kidding. Yeah, I don't really like either of them. As far as Democrats go in this election, I don't really like any of them, to tell you the truth. Andrew Yang might be the most interesting candidate to me on the Democratic side, except for his main focus is UBI, which terrifies me for some reason. And I don't know, maybe UBI, maybe 50 years from now, we'll look back and we'll be like, hey, why were we so afraid of UBI? But it doesn't seem like a good idea to me, and that's his main push. But other than that, Andrew Yang seems like a pretty reasonable person to me. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, Bernie, USA. And like I said, in 2016, I voted for third-party candidate because I didn't like either of the main ones. And I don't really like any of the main ones this time around either, but we'll see how it goes. Bernie, USA, and Lula, Brazil. All right, I don't know who Lula is. I know there was a big election sometime recently in Brazil. Wasn't it like, I'm not going to talk about international politics because I don't know enough about it. How do you go about teaching people who are reluctant to speak their target language or prefer doing exercises only? You got to push them, and you got to encourage them to quit being a wuss, is what you have to do. You have to, like, one of the things I always talk about here is that the main thing to learn if you're learning a language is learn to be bold. You got to speak with other people. You can't be afraid of making mistakes. You know, if you're just worried about screwing up and looking like an idiot, then you're just not going to learn. That's just the way it is. Okay, how do you go about teaching people who are, oh wait, I just read that question. All right, true story about weight loss, which is interesting because I don't remember I don't know, maybe he had he has a lot of different podcasts on very random. Sam Harris has a lot of podcasts on a lot of very diverse subjects. So I don't know. How do you get over shyness and nervousness when you start speaking the language? I actually used to be a very shy person, to tell you the truth. When I was in high school, I was pretty socially awkward. I'm still socially awkward. I'm just not self-conscious about it anymore. The way you get over being shy, the way you learn to be bold is you just practice being bold. You put yourself into uncomfortable situations on purpose, okay? You go forward and you make yourself speak the language, even if you know you're gonna make mistakes, okay? And I talk about practicing this on my channel. There have been times where with my friends, I have one specific friend in particular that I think about doing this with. When we do comfort zone challenges, we do things that we know is gonna make us uncomfortable and we challenge the other person. So one thing that we've done is you spend a day walking around town with your fly down, with your zipper down, all right? And there's no reason to do it other than just the fact that after the day is over, you kind of realize, like, what was the big deal about it? Why was I so embarrassed about it? And, you know, we would challenge each other to just do these embarrassing things with the mindset of the more embarrassing stuff I do, the more uncomfortable situations I put myself in, the more I'm going to become immune to the embarrassment of the situation. Okay, my real question was, what was your most embarrassing language mistake? Oh, Tommaso, I have a lot of embarrassing language mistakes. They mostly revolve around Spanish. Okay, so the one time I was in El Salvador and my friend, it was a girl, and her hair was all, you know, it was windy day or something. My hair is really greasy today. Windy day or something, and her hair was all messed up, and she said, "Estoy despeinada," right? I kind of look like a hipster with my little thing going on there. Estoy despeinada. It means my hair is messy. Dang it, now that I did that, I gotta get a haircut. Okay, my hair is messy, and I had my little purse that I carry around with me, my man bag. It's a satchel. Indiana Jones has one. I was about to pull a comb out of my purse, and I said, "Tengo un pene que te puedo prestar." What I meant to say was "Tengo un peine que te puedo prestar." I meant to say I have a comb that I can lend you, and I accidentally said I have a penis that I can lend you, and that was very embarrassing. And that was maybe the worst thing that I've ever accidentally said in Spanish. I've said other things too. None of them are coming to my head right now. Maybe I'll bring them up. I'll bring it up if I can remember any of them. Okay, he had a guest who convinced me to do a low-carb diet. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Sam Harris is great, and he has all kinds of very interesting conversations on tons of subjects on his podcast. So I would recommend him even as a religious person. How would you encourage someone who are just getting into language learning but are doubtful and reluctant because of the trauma in high school language classes? One thing that I recommend a lot is and this actually, I got this from Benny Lewis as well. He says, spend 2 weeks learning Esperanto. I would say maybe spend a month. Esperanto or Toki Pona. Okay. If you spend a month really trying to learn Esperanto or Toki Pona, you're going to be able to hold conversations by the end of that month. Okay. Whereas you could spend 4 years studying French in high school and not be able to hold a full conversation. All right. It's true. Just try it. Okay. I challenge you to try learning Esperanto. Even if you think it's stupid, even if you think Esperanto never should have been invented, even if you're one of these people who thinks, I hate the world because Esperanto exists. I don't understand how people like you think. But if you're one of those people, learn it for a month, learn it for 2 weeks, okay? And then stop. But you'll see how you can learn a language then if you do that. Take my challenge. Okay, but you said you weren't going to like and tell people that they don't look fat. So I thought I'd ask. Oh, yeah, no, that's one of the things that I learned from Sam Harris. And it's like I didn't learn not to lie from Sam Harris. Like everyone thinks they're being honest. But one of the things you learn if you read this book, again, for people who are just joining, oops, dropping my language learning doohickey. If you read this book, you'll start to realize how many white lies you tell, or how you can try to think about getting around the subject without telling a lie. And it's actually really detrimental. It causes a lot more problems than you really think about until you think about it critically. Merce, yeah, my man bag. I usually just call it a purse. I'm like, I'm just gonna embrace it. It's a purse. I don't have it up here at the moment. I started calling it that after I watched The Hangover, actually, because they had the little discussion. Okay, do you listen to Joe Rogan? Yeah, I listen to him all the time. I love Joe Rogan. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think he's a pretty honest guy who actually looks at deep subjects and tries to. He's like, Joe Rogan is one of the very, very few people out there in the world who I think looks at subjects openly, like with an open mind. I read another book recently by Jonathan Haidt. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. It's Jonathan Haidt, and it's called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Disagree on Religion and Politics. And after reading this book, that's maybe one of the books. Actually, I take it back. If there was one book, we were talking about books earlier that I would recommend. If there's one book that I would recommend people read right now, it would be by Jonathan Haidt, The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Disagree on Politics and Religion. Okay, this goes back to the Joe Rogan question. All right, completely unrelated to language learning, but I opened up the questions to any topic. Everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, 99.9% of the people in the world, so I'm going to round that up to everyone, is convinced that they see things objectively and clearly, and that I have the evidence-based conclusions, and everyone around me is just blinded by their biases, and they can't see what the data really says the way that I see it with my open and unbiased mind, right? That's what everyone thinks. Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy how two people can look at a given datum or the results of a research study and come to two completely opposite conclusions. Okay, so we just had what was it? The Mueller report. Mueller? How do you say his name? I don't really know. I read about this stuff more than I listen to it on the news. The Mueller report, I think, was just released yesterday. And, you could have predicted last week that we're waiting for this report to be released. And what we're really waiting for is for the evidence that is going to 100% prove the conclusion that I already believed, right? If you're a Republican in the United States, then the evidence from James Comey proves that Hillary Clinton was a liar and a criminal who should be in jail. And if you're a Democrat, that same evidence that the FBI released proves that she's innocent. it's just crazy how two people can look at the same fact and arrive at two completely different conclusions, and then you demonize the other side, right? It's not that just that they're wrong. It's not just that they just came to a different conclusion. It's because they came to that conclusion because they're evil and because they hate everything that is good about the world, right? And and I have my biases and you have your biases. But it was just a really interesting book. Getting back to the subject, it was a really interesting book that kind of dove. It just talked about human psychology and why we're so convinced that we're right and everyone else is wrong and evil. And then going back to the Joe Rogan question, he's like one of the very few people online right now who I think will actually look at subjects with an open mind. And on his podcast, he has opinions and he has biases just like everyone else. But, I hear him asking a lot more questions from experts than I do hear him saying, well, this is the way it is, and this is why you should believe what it is. So that's just my thoughts on Joe Rogan. I don't agree with everything that he says. I disagree with a lot of things that he says. But I just have respect for him having an open mind to other people's opinions. So that was my long rant on politics, I guess, and our society today in 2019. I appreciate the question. All right, do you think we'd be able to forget our native language after living most of our lives in a foreign country? Well, a few things about that. If you're an adult, it's basically impossible to forget your native language, okay? What will happen is if you go long periods of time without speaking your native language, you will start to deteriorate. Okay, you won't forget it, but you won't be able to speak it the same that you used to. If you're a child, like, I don't know, maybe under the age of, I don't know what the critical age here is. If you're a child under the age of 5 or 6 and you stop speaking your native language, you might forget it, okay? But fortunately, whatever language you start speaking, that will become your new native language. And if you're that young, if you're 4, 5, 6, and you start learning a new language, you'll just speak that language as your native language, like a native speaker for the rest of your life. Okay, do you think we'll be able to forget our native language? How would you start going about reading texts that are old and high level? I'm proficient in Spanish and I'm currently trying to read classic novels and a bunch of other old poems for my course. Yeah, I have firsthand experience doing this, reading texts from 17th century and 16th century France last semester when I was taking a French literature class. I used Link, okay? And texts from the 15th and 16th, man, if you're reading texts from the 15th century, actually I did have to do that. We read about Joan of Arc and some things like that. So if you're reading texts that are 500, 600 years old, those are free. They're in the public domain and you can find ebooks of them. I upload them into Link and that's a huge help. So Link is one of my favorite products for learning languages. I always recommend Link. Okay, if you watch Joe Rogan with Kyle Kulinski, it will change your mind on politics. Okay, Kyle, is he the one that he does? Kyle, he does. Yeah, I think I know who that is. Can't think of the name of his channel. It's like Skeptic Atheist or something like that. Is that who I'm thinking of? Kyle something? Did he do Secular Talk? Yeah, that's what it is. Did he do a podcast with Joe Rogan? That would be interesting. I would really like to see that. Because Kyle, I'm pretty sure, is a pretty staunch atheist, and Joe Rogan is an agnostic. So I would like to hear them. I would like to hear what they have to say. And I would really like to hear them in a debate with Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. Get like 4 different perspectives on the same, and well, yeah, and maybe with Sam Harris too. That would be a really interesting debate. It would have to be more like a, I don't know, what do you call those things? Town hall or something. But that would be interesting. Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson debate was really good. Yeah, what did Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson debate on? I like Ben Shapiro a lot. I don't like Tucker at all. I think Tucker's, I agree with some of the stuff that he says, but I think Tucker is only, like, his only motivation is just to make liberals look bad. And that's a stupid motivation, and I don't like Tucker at all. Ben, I think, at least is, I disagree with a lot of things that Ben says too. I agree with some of the things he says. I disagree with some of the things that he says. But his job is not, you would be confused if you just watch Ben Shapiro destroys angry liberal SJW vegan videos on YouTube, right? You would think, well, Ben's only job is just to make liberals look bad, like Tucker. That's why I can't stand Tucker. But if you watch Ben's podcast, or if you watch him, do conversations with people that he disagrees with, outside of college campuses, he's not Tucker. He's genuine, and he will actually have a civil conversation with people, even if he disagrees with them. Unlike a lot of people, I really liked watching him on Ben Shapiro on the Bill Maher. I don't know how to pronounce his name either. Is it Maher? Maher? Bill Maher or something like that. Maher. I really liked that conversation because they disagree on basically everything. They disagree on politics and religion. But if you can have a civil conversation with someone like that, then I think there's a lot more to be said about your personality than someone like Tucker, who just only exists just to try to make the other side look bad. That's why I can't stand him. I just can't. I can't stand Tucker Carlson. Even though I do agree with a number of things that he says. Okay, Ben Shapiro and Slavoj Zizek. I don't know who that is. Matt Dillahunty. Matt. Okay, I think I know who you're talking about. Matt. I gotta look him up first. Dillahunty. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know who he is. I don't watch him very often, but I watched a debate between Jordan Peterson and Matt Dillahunty, and he seemed very, in my opinion, Matt won that debate. Okay, I really, really have a lot of respect for Jordan Peterson, but Matt kind of made Jordan look bad in that debate. Okay, even though I would generally agree with Jordan's religious views and not Matt's. But I think Matt won that one. Just saying. Sam Harris versus Ben Affleck. Yeah. In my opinion, Sam made Ben Affleck look like a complete idiot. Ben and Bill, right? Because they both agree on that whole subject. And I think it just got taken out of context, right? Because, well, I don't know. I don't know too much about that debate to talk a whole lot about it. Going to take off. Very interesting live stream. Yeah, sorry, we totally left the subject of languages, and now we're talking just about I don't know, philosophers and political commentators. But it's very interesting. I could talk about all this stuff every day. Maybe I should make a channel where I just talk about this kind of stuff because I find it fascinating. But I have too many channels already. I have a travel channel. I have a languages channel. I have an Esperanto channel. I would like to make a music channel someday because music is a big part of my life, big interest of mine. Yeah, so the subject of today is just that I've been answering a lot of questions, okay? Questions from audience members, and I basically just said, I'll answer anything that you have to ask. So, okay, I watch these thinkers to learn English. For me, it's not unrelated. Yeah, that's great. I think you should be watching, YouTubers, and you should be watching things that you're interested in the language that you're learning, right? So if you're interested in the debate between atheism and theism, or I don't know, left-leaning and right-leaning, or I don't know, if you're interested in debates on epistemology and on ethics and all kinds of things like that, then watch that stuff in English. That's one of the great advantages that people have who are learning English. There's tons of material. You can always find something that you're interested, no matter what the subject. What are your thoughts on Jordan Peterson? I love him. I think Jordan Peterson is great. He gets mischaracterized sometimes, and I don't agree with everything he said. I disagree with Jordan on some stuff, but he's very thoughtful. And one thing that you can't say is that he hasn't thought through the subjects that he's talking on. Okay, and he is very nuanced, so it's not like he just takes solid opinions on certain subjects. I think Jordan Peterson is great. Okay, thanks for your answers. Seems I have a great new channel to follow. Yeah, well, I hope, I hope we don't normally talk about subjects like this on my channel. We normally talk about languages. But like I said, today I opened it up to anything about me or about languages. Is there any way to know your actual language level without taking a proficiency test such as IELTS or TOEFL, etc.? Yeah, I mean, if you go to I always forget the acronym. What's it, like the European Common European Framework? What's that? What's the thing called? CEL? I can't remember the name of the scale. A1, A2, B1, B2. I usually just talk about the scale without talking about the name of it. Anyways, if you go on their website, or if you go on any website that talks about language levels, they'll give you descriptions of what it's like to be at A1. At A1, you can regurgitate phrases, basically, that you have learned as chunks. At A2, you can kind of start to converse a little bit on specific topics, but you can't go very far. With B1, you can kind of start to hold basic conversations with some difficulty on topics that are not too broad. With B2, you can start to talk about more topics, more subjects. With C1, you can pretty much talk about anything as long as it's not too technical or not too advanced. And with C2, you're basically just like a native speaker, except for the accent. All right. And there is no level where you just speak like a native speaker, including the accent, because that just doesn't exist. Okay. Are you still practicing your Esperanto? I find sometimes it's a bit hard to keep multiple languages without mixing them. Yes, right now I am currently actively doing the 30-day record yourself challenge in Esperanto, which means I record a video of myself speaking Esperanto almost every day. I'm not as disciplined about this one because it's kind of like a side thing for me. I record a video of myself speaking Esperanto almost every day, and I post it on Instagram. So it's a plug for you guys to follow me on Instagram. Fingtam Languages is my screen name. And I also post it on my Esperanto channel, Fingtam Esperanto, here on YouTube. What was your military experience like? How did it change you as a person? Well, I was 19 when I decided to join the Marine Corps, and I was just tired of school. I'm much more of an academic now. I really enjoy school. I enjoy learning. But after 12 years of school and then 1 year of college, I just was tired of sitting in a classroom and I wanted to have an adventure. So I decided, I don't know, I was kind of young and stupid and I wanted to go to war before it was over. I wanted an adventure and something that was a challenge and something dangerous. So I did. And, I learned a lot and it was tough. It was hard, but, kind of teaches you. Teaches you that you're not as fragile as the world today would have you believe. Okay. Did you ever try to learn a Berber language? No. Nope, never have. The only languages that I've ever tried to learn so far are Indo-European languages and Esperanto and well, Esperanto is based off of Indo-European languages. But starting next month, I'm learning Thai. So that'll be a new experience for me. CFR standard, Common European Framework or Reference. Yes, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you for that. If you go to the CFR website or just Google that, you'll find explanations of every different level. And that will help you decide what level you're at, even without taking the test. Now, obviously, a self-assessment isn't going to be as accurate as taking the test. What are your vocabulary hacks? I use Memrise and Link. Those are my hacks. Also, I try to learn new words from music. I find music to be one of the best ways of helping me learn new vocabulary. Was the Marines like Full Metal Jacket? Yeah. Obviously they take some creative liberties. It's a Hollywood movie, but there's a lot of reality in that as well. Why does Thai/Thailand appeal to you? I'm actually going to Bangkok next week. It appeals to me because I accepted a job there. So as much as I'm sure I will love learning Thai, there's no way I would learn it if I wasn't going to move there. And I'm moving there because that's where the job was. And, that's not to diminish Thai. There are some people who think it's a beautiful language and they would, it's their favorite language or something. I'm sure, probably. But there's just so many languages out there that are beautiful and have a rich history and culture that it's like, that's just not the one that I would have chosen. I would have chosen to learn Mandarin Chinese, which is just objectively much more useful in the world in general. And so that's what I would have been learning if I wasn't moving to Thailand. Did you ever try to learn that language? I've never tried to learn any Berber language. What CEFR level do you consider fluent? It's like, what level of luminosity do you consider to be gray? Like you have white and you have black, and where in between there is gray? Well, maybe everything between white and black is gray, right? Or maybe, the 10% on either side is still white or still black. It's just not a question that you can answer. You could very narrowly define fluent, and as long as your interlocutor understands that this is your definition of the word fluent, then then you can use that. But everyone has a different idea of what it means to be fluent. And some people, like me, I have no idea of what it means to be fluent. It's just not a useful word to use. I would rather use either a level on the CEFR scale or just describe my abilities. Okay, the word fluent isn't really a useful word for me to use because I don't know what it means. That's my answer to your question. I don't know. No, I have no answer. What language do the Tuaregs speak? I don't know. Same answer as last question. How long are you going to be in Thailand? At least 10 months. So I'm signing on for teaching for a year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't expect to stay there. It was really more just something that I wanted to do in between graduating with a bachelor's degree and going back to grad school. What's your take on Chomsky's concept of universal grammar? Well, you can't deny some of it, right? Like children just learn languages way too quickly. You try to teach a 2-year-old how to play chess or how to drive a car or how to play golf, and they can't do it because they don't have the mental capacity to learn things that complex yet. But if you try to stop them from learning a language, which is way more complex than chess, and you can't stop them. Like you could the only thing you could do to stop a child from learning a language is to put them in isolation where they never hear someone speak the language, right? Aside from that, that child is going to learn a language if they have, a healthy functioning brain. They're going to learn a language. It's built in. It has to be built in. That's my opinion. Now, to the extent that it is, I can't answer all the questions, but read The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker. I don't have that one up here either. It's a really interesting book. And it's a little old, like 30 years, 20 years, 25 years old maybe. But I think it's still very valid and relevant and important. Pinker is also another thinker that I love to listen to because he doesn't just talk about languages. He doesn't just talk about psychology. He talks about all kinds of stuff. So I would put him right up there with Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson and some of the other people that we were talking about. What's your take on Chomsky? Have you ever been to a European language class where they straightforward start teaching you in that language rather than through English? Generally speaking, I don't take language classes. I took Spanish classes in middle school and in high school where they start teaching you in English. I taught myself French up until I was at maybe a B1 level or something like that. And then I started taking classes, which my first French class was all in French. But that's because I had already reached a higher level in French. So I don't have a whole lot of experiences with that. I'm not a huge fan of classes to begin with because you should be teaching yourself the language, right? If you're depending on a teacher to teach you the language, then you're just going to fail because they can't do it. You have to teach yourself the language. Teachers can help, and teachers are very useful, and classes are useful for learning grammar and stuff. So you should take a class if you have the opportunity, but that should be a supplement to you learning the language by yourself. No offense to Thailand or your decision, but why did you choose Thailand other than say Korea, China, Japan, South America, Norway? Because my sister teaches at the school in Thailand, and it seemed like a great opportunity, and she's having a blast. And I was kind of following her on social media and getting jealous. And so I said, well, I'm going to go there too. And it's not because of the country. I wasn't drawn to Thailand. I was drawn to that job. All right, where did you serve in the Marines? I was stationed in North Carolina. I spent time in um, California, Arizona, Florida, Djibouti, Africa, and Afghanistan. But in between all those different places, I always went back to North Carolina. Chomsky's UG was disproved by a linguist who analyzes indigenous Australian languages. I don't think that's true. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Daniel Everett? I have to look this up. He was not Australian language. He studied Amazonian languages, and some people have. I don't want to say this wrong. Some people have. I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking for it. I think some people have said that his work on Piraha goes against UG. But he's a really controversial figure in the linguistics world, and not a whole lot of people take him seriously. So, like I say, you should have an open mind to stuff, but if you're going to make strong claims, then those claims should be based on evidence. I don't know too much about the evidence on that subject, to tell you the truth. Okay. Lobster gang. Yeah. Man, Jordan Peterson talks about lobsters way more than you would think someone in his profession would. Pinker is great. Yes, I really like Pinker. I really like Peterson. Like I said, we just spent half an hour talking about all those different people. All right, Tuareg Berber speaks 3 accents. One of this accent called Tamarshik. That's all that I know. Okay, did you see the Notre Dame fire? Yes, it was very sad. I just went into Notre Dame the first. How do you say that in English? Because I'm always torn between pronouncing foreign words with an English accent and saying Notre Dame or Notre Dame, and then sounding kind of dumb or sounding pretentious and saying, yes, this summer I went to Notre Dame, right? Or like, I took a vacation to Nicaragua. I don't know. I hate it when people do that. It just sounds pretentious to me. Yes, I did see the Notre Dame fire. Very sad. Fortunately, I made a trip there this past summer, so I did get to see it just before it burnt. I went there in 2017 as well, but I never went in. Now, this is the ironic thing. In 2017, I went to Paris and I saw Notre Dame. Like, I saw it from the outside, but I didn't want to pay, I don't know, what is it, like €5 or €10 to get in? And I didn't want to pay it. So I was like, I saw the outside. That's good enough. I'm sure I'll be back to Paris sometime in the future when I'm not a college student and when I have more money and I can go into Notre Dame then. Little did I know it wasn't always going to be there. But fortunately, I went back again last year with a class and we were required to go into Notre Dame. So I was really happy that I got to do that before it burnt. Well, this has been one of the longer live streams that I've done. We had a lot of great questions. If there's any other last minute questions, then I'll take them now. Otherwise, almost 2 hours. It's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. Had a lot of good questions, a lot of off-topic subjects. What is your favorite song? I really like Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show. That's one of my favorite songs. I listened to that a lot when I was in Afghanistan, dreaming about going back to North Carolina. I really like Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Here Comes the Sun is, well, the Beatles are my favorite band, probably, by far. I really like El Sol No Regresa by La Quinta Estación. I like La Marine Marchande by Les Cowboys Fringants. What else? I have a lot of favorite songs. Love music. I love using music to learn languages. When is the next live stream scheduled? Next Friday. I do live streams pretty much every Friday. They're usually not this long. You should do more non-language related live streams. Yeah. You know, I want to find a balance, I guess, because I know a lot of YouTubers. Okay, this is not a lifestyle channel, right? It's not an entertainment channel. It's an informational channel, right? And there's a lot of YouTubers who just make videos about their lives, and that's great. It's like an entertainment. It's like a reality show, really, except it's really real. It's not like those fake reality shows on TV, right? And this isn't one of those channels. Like, I am kind of a YouTube personality now, but my channel exists to help you guys learn languages. Now, to the extent that you want to have a good relationship with your teacher who is teaching you stuff, right? And that makes learning more efficient. Then I want to have relationship with you guys. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll do more question and answer videos like this. Are you from Madison? I love the city. Have you ever been to Wisconsin Dells? I'm not from Madison. Funny story. I actually one time walked from my home city to the Wisconsin Dells all the way when I was on spring break a few years ago. And that took me 6 days. I walked 150 miles. And I had no reason to do that other than I was on spring break and I just wanted to walk to the Wisconsin Dells. So I did. And yeah, it was fun. I had a good time. I like walking. I like adventures. Look up Alex Honnold. All right, I'll look him up. I'll type that in here now. Alex Honnold. All right, I'll show that. He free soloed El Capitan, climbed the whole mountain without a rope. Interesting. I'll look him up. All right, I'm going to end the video here. Thanks to all of you guys who watched and stuck with me, and especially for those who asked great questions about language learning or otherwise. I look forward to see you guys again in my live stream next Friday. We'll see you then.